will be moving on to a metro, and we're going to ask Hendrick Raedani from Ekurhuleni to share his presentation. Hendrick is the divisional head for alternative and renewable energy at Ekurhuleni, and he has about 19 years experience in the energy industry across electrical design, metering, tariffs, electrification, revenue enhancement, and he has an MSc in sustainability. Ekurhuleni was one of the first to put out a IPP tender a few years ago. So welcome, Hendrick, and we look forward to the presentation.
Okay. Oh, no, thank you, Leila. Thank you, Leila.
There you are. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. And thank you, Leila, for the invite to share what City of Ekurhuleni is doing in terms of the just energy transition.
Okay, my apology for that. Yeah, as I've indicated, that Ekurhuleni is actually made up of traditional 9 towns, of each having its own electricity grid. But after 2000, there was an amalgamation where it was formed a metro. And largely, we all know that Ekurhuleni is more of an industrial hub of the country. We've got almost 64%, which is commercial or industrial, out of which 23% is more manufacturing. So you can clearly see that we're also the highest emitters of greenhouse gases. So the just energy transition is definitely suited for the city. And currently, obviously, we rely on Eskom. We wholly rely on Eskom for energy needs. With a total of 2,500 MVA, and then that's more or less 7% contribution to the national demand. But in 2008, 2009, the city approved an energy and climate change strategy. And then again, one of the objectives there was actually to transition to low carbon operations with a target of 30% renewable or clean energy by 2030. And then these are just the few drivers for City of Ekurhuleni, just energy transition. Mentioned there the need to contribute towards lowering carbon footprint, as I've indicated, based in line with our climate change and energy response strategy. We are saying 30% of our supply, we want it to actually come from renewable or cleaner sources by 2030. So that is one of the biggest drivers for City of Ekurhuleni, just energy transition. And also energy security. I mean, we all know what load shedding does. I mean, it threatens the energy security. So, I mean, if we can, as a city, deload Eskom somewhat, we believe that it's actually a step in the right direction. And that's one of the drivers to the just energy transition. And again, the rising energy cost, I mean, we all know this, it's not a secret. So those are some of the drivers to City of Ekurhuleni jet. And again, the need for economic development and job creation. That is also one of the biggest drivers for the city. I mean, because we know there's a concentration of most people flow to the city of gold, which is Gauteng or Johannesburg, if you may like. So obviously that creates a bit of a strain where no jobs are created. But now, if as a city we can position in a position where we are able to generate or to create more jobs, so that again becomes one of the key drivers to our energy just transition. Then to get to the objectives, this is what City of Ekurhuleni have initiated. So these are some of the initiatives that we have implemented in the city. We call them green initiatives. And then now there are some initiatives that we have implemented on council-owned properties. This includes retrofitting of all inefficient lamps, energy efficient electronic compact fluorescent lamps, and also the installation of occupancy sensors in most of our offices, just to switch off the lights when the offices are not occupied. And again, the installation of solar water heaters in most of council buildings, be it hostels, old age homes, and things like that. So we do install some solar water heating. And again, we've got a program where we install installation of solar rooftops. We've got 9 customer care services across the city. So what we're trying to do is that each and every customer care building, where there is enough roof space, we normally install solar rooftops. So I've just listed there all the customer care buildings rooftops, and in total we are looking at around more than 3 megawatts of solar rooftop that we have installed in most of our council buildings. And then some green initiatives on our electricity infrastructure. This includes retrofitting of streetlight lamps with energy efficient LED luminaires, retrofitting of traffic lights with LED fittings, installation of solar home light systems at informal settlements and solar high mast. As we all know, City of Ekurhuleni has got the highest concentration of informal settlements in South Africa. So now that obviously will pose a challenge to the city in terms of electrification and job creation and the like. So now what we have decided to do is to install solar home light systems, just a small 40 watts. That is just enough to power your lights, charge some cell phones. And then this, again, we do this in a hope of actually discouraging illegal connections as well. Because now, beside the process, the program where we install solar home light systems, there is also a conventional electrification project that is done by our planning division, where we also do electrify informal settlements, but they have to be reblocked. And then obviously that whole process, but now there are some informal settlement where we find that's either as in wetlands, private land. Obviously we cannot invest some asset, we cannot put some asset there for obvious reasons. So we end up just putting small solar home light systems. And then again, we've got the integration of embedded generation. So these are some of the initiatives that the city do. And currently we are sitting almost 200 megawatts of registered small scale embedded generation. So obviously over the years, this has actually increased exponentially. The amount of applications that we receive for small scale embedded generation is a lot. It has actually tripled. So, but we have to actually integrate those as a city, as another initiative, towards JET. And also the development of a wheeling framework. From year 2020, 2021, we had a wheeling framework approved by NERSA, where it's a scenario where the generators outside of a city's network, probably connected on the ESCOM grid, and then wheeling to an off-taker situated in the city of Ekurhuleni. So that kind of a wheeling framework, we had it, the tariffs, the crediting tariffs were actually approved by NERSA in the 2020-2021 financial year. And then this current financial year, we've decided to actually expand this wheeling framework, where we also include internal generators. Basically, these are generators that are installed within our distribution system and off-takers within Ekurhuleni. So that is a framework that we have just brought onto our schedule of tariffs as well, just to assist businesses in Ekurhuleni. And then again, we also have got a biogas generator, so 1 megawatt biogas generator. You can see the green picture there. We've installed this in one of our landfill site to actually harvest methane gas and then convert that to electricity. And then again, as Chair Leila has indicated, we've appointed around 47 independent producers to procure almost 700 megawatts of renewable energy right onto the city. So I've just made a summary down there, of which probably most of you might have seen it before. Where the technologies that we've considered include solar, waste to energy, landfill gas, your LNG, and other two strange technologies there. So those are some of the initiatives that we are doing as a city towards JET. The few challenges that we are encountering, the thing is, what happens that now, there's an issue of land. Land availability in a metropolitan area, it's a challenge, especially for utility scale generation projects, and also loading challenges. Because what happens that now you'll find that where land is actually far away from where the load is, where the greatest load is. As I've indicated, we've got around 2,500 MVA, but we find that now it is actually where there's no land close to where the load is. So those are some of the challenges that we are encountering. And then again, the PPA funding, we've realized that they're never ending. Sorry, also, apologies for that. They're never ending requests from potential funders to renegotiate some PPA terms. So now that also poses a bit of a challenge where we have to sit down probably with our legal department and try to renegotiate some of the PPA terms. And then there are certain technologies like a waste to electricity projects that unfortunately they are notoriously difficult to pull off. And then there are certain things that we are trying to bring on board, things like your gate fees, where these IPPs, if we were to set up a generator at the landfill site, maybe the city will then surrender the gate fees or the tipping fees so that at least these projects can be more viable. So these are some of the challenges or hurdles that we actually try to jump as we move along, because definitely the program is not the perfect, but we are jumping each hurdle as it comes. And then again, the rising price of LNG is also affecting our gas projects viability, because we started this in 2016, 2017, and by then the price of natural gas, it was fine from Sasol. They could make a business case, but now 5 years later, things have changed again, worse with the war in Ukraine. So it's just making things a bit difficult for LNG projects to be more viable. But that's a challenge. Hopefully we'll find some way to jump it. And then again, there's an issue of balancing act in integration of wheeling IPPs and Munich IPPs. Because obviously, ever since the relaxation of the licensing threshold, we've received a lot of wheeling requests, all right? And this, obviously, some of the generators are going to connect right on our distribution network. And then at the same time, we've got our very own IPP generators that also want to use the very same distribution network. So now it then becomes a balancing act that we have to do, how to open up for private use and again for our own use as well. So there is that balancing act that needs to be done, or else, yeah, we risk having issues on our grid. And then again, another challenge, I think also Passmo might have indicated, is also the need for reskilling. I mean, as we all know, most of our planning engineers, I mean, they were never really, involved within generator integration. But now these are some of the skills that they need to actually start moving forward, because this were normally done by ESCOM. But now even at municipal level, so these are some of the skills that are needed in the municipal level to integrate all these generators, be it SSCGs, be it from IPPs, wheeling, or Munich-owned IPPs. And then again, the business case, yes, there's definitely a business case for local government in the just energy transition. As we all know that now recent amendments to the regulatory framework also supports the just transition, energy transition at local level. I mean, we are allowed as municipalities to develop our very own generation capacity. And I think that's a mandate that I will say somewhat lost over the years, even though it has always been there. But I think over the years, that mandate might have actually kind of disappeared for most municipalities, including Ekurhuleni as well. So at least the new regulations allows municipalities to develop their own generation capacity. And then obviously doing this, there's also procuring. You can also develop this by procuring power directly from IPPs at discounted rates as compared to what we actually purchase from ESCOM. And then with our current IPP program, we estimate that there is a saving of around 13.9 billion that we anticipate, or we estimate to save from purchasing from the IPPs as compared to ESCOM over a 20-year period, because that is the term of our PPAs, it's 20 years. And then again, procuring excess power from our SSGs, as I've indicated, well, over 200 megawatts of SSGs that are on our grid. So we have also introduced feed-in tariffs to actually procure excess from all these SSGs, even though we know that currently NERSA, unfortunately, did not approve any feed-in tariffs from the municipalities, also wheeling as well. And NERSA decided not to approve this year, but obviously that's a discussion for another day. And then again, the injection of renewable energy to the local grid through wheeling. As we know that now the grid is our greatest asset. So now wheeling actually present that opportunity where we can actually leverage on our greatest asset, which is the grid, where we can actually generate revenue. It becomes a new revenue stream for Munich, through the distribution use of system charges. And currently as a city, the ones that we have proposed that we've sent to ESCO, to NERSA, unfortunately not yet approved, we're proposing around 7 cents for every kilowatt hour that is wheeled on our grid. Basically, these are generators that are connected directly on our distribution grid, because the ones that are connected on ESCOM side will pay that decoder to ESCOM. So those are some of the things that we are doing. And then again, I've indicated here that obviously with SSCG and wheeling, there's a lot of wheeling defection, grid defection, and then obviously there'll definitely be some trade-off. Currently, we have signed a wheeling agreement with one of our biggest data centers, where they came to us and indicated they're going to lose their international competitiveness. Their international market shares. They're going to lose it if they don't go green. So there are certain green energy targets that they have. So we have to trade off that so that at least we can allow them to do wheeling. And then for doing that, obviously, they remain in the city, they still invest in the city, more people are employed. So yeah, but obviously there definitely gonna be some trade-offs to be done. Thank you. I think I'll end there.
Hendrick, thank you so much. A brilliant presentation showing the growth in this market and how Ekurhuleni is playing in it.